If you've been following along with Season 13 of RuPaul's Drag Race, you will be very familiar with this moment from Untucked.
Gaga-chandra.
A few episodes later, one of the contestants, Denali, wanted to add another word to the Drag Race dictionary, and in response, RuPaul's Drag Race tweeted out this.
Girl. Falabiana.
This tweet is the quintessential inspiration for this video. I thought to myself, I need Pokemon fan art of this right now. Hello, my name is Robert Christian, but you can call me Robbie for short. And in today's video, I wanted to go over each of the drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13 and put them as Pokemon Gym Leaders because I thought it would be a fun idea. There are 13 contestants, so I thought it would be perfect if the first 8 eliminated queens were the Pokemon Gym Leaders, the top 5 girls as the Elite 4 members, minus the winner being, of course, the Pokémon League Champion. I will be going over this list in elimination order, so if you're not caught up with Season 13 of RuPaul's Drag Race, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you who wins. So if you don't want to know anything from this season, I recommend you watch the entire season and then come back to this video. Let's start with the first eliminated queen. From the House of Hall! Kahmora Hall had a very short run in RuPaul's Drag Race, but I think I want to give her the dragon type, solely based on her trained runway look, which was amazing. It was everything that I needed from a runway I didn't know that I needed.
From the halls of medicine, Kahmora Hall.
The golden heads on her shoulders and scales that go all the way to her tail really capture the essence of a dragon, which is a staple of Asian culture. And for this reason, the first Pokemon I chose for Kahmora is a Druddigon. Druddigon isn't known to evolve from or into any other Pokemon, and its base stat total is a 485, which is lower than the average fully evolved Dragon-type Pokemon. But considering this would be the first gym leader, it works out to have some less strong Dragon types in her team. Finally, we have her main partner. Remember Kahmora's performance in the first acting challenge?
Did you leave me all these years ago? I was rooting for us.
Wouldn't it be perfect if we gave her an Alolan Exeggutor? And I thought this choice was even more perfect when in the reunion she said this.
If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Triggered. But if I were a tree, I would say I'd probably be a coconut tree.
Alolan Exeggutor could not be a more perfect choice for Kahmora Hall. Next up we have Joey J.
Filler Queen.
Filler Queen.
So what better Pokemon type to give Joey J than normal type? Now when I say filler Pokemon, I'm referring to Pokemon that aren't particularly used in regular playthroughs and much less competitively. Not all of my picks for Joey J's team are filler Pokemon, but one such example is Chinchino. I loosely based this choice on her Lady Runway look, which features a lot of fur. This Unova Pokemon never truly got its shining moment, which is ironic considering it evolves from a Minccino using a shiny stone. My next pick comes from Joey calling herself
I'm a gay ass bitch, I'm Joey J.
So when I searched for gayest Pokemon on Google, one of the Pokemon that came up was Jigglypuff. But since we're doing fully evolved teams, what better choice for Joey J than the normal and fairy type, Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff also has a single curl on the top of its head, which kind of resembles Joey J's knack for not wearing wigs.
But where's your wig, the $1 million question?
Finally, we have her ace, which I based on her Train for Days runway. There's not much to say. It's a giant tongue. And what Pokemon do we know has a long tongue? That's right, Lickitung. But since we're including fully evolved Pokemon, I'm making Joey J's ace a Licky Licky. The next eliminated queen is the original Atlanta girl.
Tamisha, Iman, it's coming for you.
And I really struggled with giving Tamisha Iman a type. Then I started thinking, and I came to the conclusion, Tamisha Iman has a very hard character. And all of her outfits are also stone for the gods. Tamisha Iman would be a rock type in my opinion.
Tamisha is here.
Tamisha is a classy diva.
The first Pokemon that I would give Tamisha Iman is one that I thought best resembled her entrance look. Tamisha's entrance look is a bright red ensemble with spiky shoulders, and a Pokemon with big red spikes all over its body is Gigalith. My next choice is based on her cast reveal look. You know, those Instagram reels announcing the cast for the newest season? This garment was beautifully crafted with feathers that almost look like wings. And for this reason, the Pokemon I chose for Tamisha is an Archeops. While it may not match the dress's color scheme, Archeop's interesting design makes it a perfect addition to the team. And finally, we have Tamisha's main Pokemon. When researching all of Tamisha's runway looks for the season, I noticed a pattern of pageant-style dresses, like her sheer runway, which is a classically beautiful gown with a dramatic detail at the front. Of course, the Pokemon that perfectly fits this description is Aurora's. After Tamisha Iman, give it up for the new Miss Congeniality.
Del Rey me is LaLa Ri.
I think we can all agree that this snakeskin outfit was her best runway look during the competition. I'm going to give her a poison type and base her entire team on this snake theme. My choices are pretty straightforward since there are only a handful of poison type snake Pokemon. So LaLa Ri's team will consist of Seviper, Salazzle, which I also loosely based on her nighttime runway, and Arbok. But I'll go the extra mile and give her a shiny Arbok since it better matches her runway's color scheme. Sorry, Sandaconda. Maybe next time. Next up on the list,
I'm the queen you want to see, Elliott with 2 T's, okay?
this Vegas girl loves to present herself as an elegant queen, and her favorite animals are flamingos, as is apparent in her promo look, where she is standing on one leg. I think Elliott with 2 T's would be a flying type trainer. Unfortunately, there are no flamingo Pokemon. There are, however, elegant-looking bird Pokemon like Male and Pheasant, which I based on her Beat-It runway, and Swanna, which I based on her Trains for Days runway. Finally, her ace would be Noctowl, which I loosely based on her cast reveal look, and also because they both kind of have the same scowl on their face.
Move aside, it's your girl Denali.
I think Denali's type is very obvious. She's from Alaska, and she's a professional ice skater. It would be a hate crime if we didn't put Denali as an ice-type gym leader. I had a lot of fun creating Denali's team, and it was one of the first I came up with, based on her Phenomenon verse when she says,
I'm cold as ice, hotter than a tamale.
the first Pokemon I'd give Denali is a Galarian Darmanitan, specifically with the ability Zen Mode, because it becomes an Ice and Fire type when its HP is below half. My second choice is Weavile, which I based on her Vamp runway, because of its dark color scheme and over-the-top hair that sort of resembles Weavile's red crown. Finally, her ace would be Alola Ninetales, another Pokemon with a unique type combination, just like the 2 other members on her team. And I'm gonna do a speed round for Tina Burner because you already know her type, Fire. It's in her name, and she spent the entire season establishing that her signature colors are red, orange, and yellow. Tina Burner's team consists of Female Pyroar based on her promo look, Rapidash based on her fascinating Fascinator's look, Talonflame based on her daytime runway, and Magmortar based on her little black dress. Finally, we have reached the last queen for this portion of the video. It is the 8th gym leader, Utica. Her commercial presentation, she licks the can, and lick is a ghost type move. Ghost type would be a very perfect type for Utica. The first Pokemon on Utica's team is Frozlass, based on her sheer runway, which is this flowy yet mysterious watercolor garment. This outfit has long sleeves that kind of resemble Frozlass' arms, which flare at the wrists. Second, we have Jellicent, specifically a female Jellicent, which I based on her little black dress runway. Utica's inspiration for this outfit are her earrings, which are 2 little gold ladies with huge lips, just like female Jellicent. It's a ridiculous and unique concept that I thought fit well with this pick. Next, we have an unconventional choice, but trust me, it makes sense. Typically, you would never see legendary or mythical Pokemon on gym leaders because they're highly overpowered. However, I think Utica would have a Blacephalon. Technically, Blacephalon is an Ultra Beast, which is still rather overpowered, but her recurring ball motif and tendency to be mean solidify it as a perfect choice for Utica. And finally, we must give Utica a Miltank. I know, it's not a ghost type, but like I said, with Utica's tendency to be mean, she would pull out this Miltank with Scrappy to avoid all your ghost type moves and hit all your ghost types with normal moves in return. And also Clara the Cow.
Clara the Cow is here!
This cow is speaking through Char right now to Miss Utica. You know what? Actually, that checks out.
After 8 tough battles, we make our way to the Pokémon League, the toughest challenge for any trainer participating in the gym challenge who aspires the coveted title of Pokémon League Champion. But first, we must battle the members of the Elite Four, in this case, the 4 runners-up from this season. We'll start with a 5th place contestant, Olivia Lux. They call her Liv, Satin, Velvet, and Glitz. The polite diva of Season 13 would most definitely be a fairy-type trainer, with a team of adorable yet formidable Pokemon. Her team consists of the Fable, based on her Lamé look, Aromatisse, based on her nighttime look, Alcremie, based on her entrance look, Grimmsnarl, based on her Beast Couture runway, and her ace, Primarina, based on her congratulations performance. Second is Gottmik. This innovative fashion mogul would certainly be an electric-type trainer with a punk rock team to match. Gottmik's team would consist of Heliolisk, based on her daytime look, Electros, based on her Beast Couture runway, Zepstrika, based on her fascinating Fascinators runway, Luxray, based on her look in the Nice Girls Roast, and her ace, Toxtricity, based on her Finale Eleganza runway, and the fact that Toxtricity is quite literally classified as the punk Pokémon. Next up, not quite. Rosé has an obvious pun to her name that grants her a grass-type specialty. However, being a well-rounded trainer, Rosé would insist you participate in the double battle to better suit her variety Trick Room team, much like Raihan's weather set in Pokémon Sword and Shield. Rosé's team consists of Serena, based on her Finale Eleganza runway, Gothitelle as her Trick Room setter, based on her black and white Finale runway, Florges for its ability Flower Veil, which prevents grass-type Pokémon from having their stats lowered, and her ace, Roserade, based on her fascinating Fascinators runway, and that pun I mentioned earlier. The final Elite Four member is none other than Miss VIP herself, Kandy Muse. Kandy loves to flaunt her status as the runner-up this season, and rightfully so, consistently claiming she fought for her top spot. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve this top spot, but rather emphasizing her own words. I think Kandy producer Muse would definitely be a fighting-type trainer. Her team would consist of Medicham, based on her daytime look, Fangoro, based on her fascinating Fascinators runway, Mienshao, based on her Beat It runway, Grapploct, based on her Beast Couture runway, and her ace, Beware, based on her Bag Ball Eleganza runway. Cute, but ready to fight you in the parking lot at 3 PM. But in this case, it's a Pokemon battle.
The winner of RuPaul's Drag Race, America's next drag superstar, is Symone.
This is it! We have reached our final challenge. One more trainer to face before receiving the title of Pokémon League Champion. Much like Cynthia in Generation 4 and Leon in Pokémon Sword and Shield, Symone has a varied team of 6 fierce Pokémon. We'll start with her main Pokémon, Hatterene, and build a team around it. Hatterene is a Psychic and Fairy-type Pokémon, 2 of the arguably strongest types in the game, and it loosely resembles the color scheme for her Trains for Days runway. Next, we'll give her a Delphox, based on her Beast Couture runway, as a secondary Pokémon. Delphox is a Fire-type, which covers Hatterene's Steel-type weakness. However, Delphox shouldn't be the only Pokémon on Symone's team that can cover this weakness. For this reason, we'll include a Hitmonchan, based on her Lamé look. Hitmonchan's fighting type not only covers Hatterene's Steel-type weakness, but it also comes with strong offensive coverage against Normal, Ice, Rock, and Dark types, the last 2 of which Delphox is also weak to. I guess you could say Hitmonchan really packs a punch. Now we need to focus on Hatterene's Poison-type weakness, and what better way to do that than by adding a Steel-type to her team? In this case, Corviknight, based on her Drag Excellence runway. Corviknight is also a flying type, which provides some extra coverage against ground types, of which Delphox is also weak to. We'll also give Symone a Trevenant, based on her Doppelganger's runway. This ghost and grass type Pokemon can offer further coverage for Delphox's water type weakness and Hatterene's ghost type weakness. Though Trevenant is weak to ghosts as well, it can be quite frustrating to deal with if it has the ability Harvest, which has a 50% chance of restoring the Pokemon's consumed berry. Finally, since we've covered the weaknesses of Symone's main Pokemon, we have to worry about the rest of the team's weaknesses. Based on her Moneybags runway, we can assign her a Gastrodon, who can cover Corviknight's and Trevenant's weakness to Fire-type moves. Additionally, Gastrodon can have the ability Storm Drain, rendering Water-type moves useless and healing Gastrodon in the process, which can be very helpful when covering Delphox's Water-type weakness. I'm so proud of the Pokemon teams I created for each of the queens, especially for Symone. I really tried to integrate the runways into a strong, well-balanced team worthy of a champion. Let me know what you think of each of the teams in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!